Right, hello people. Jay Opetaia is coming off a successful Zuffa boxing debut, beating Brandon Glanton by a very clear decision. And I want to talk about what's next. I made one of these videos in a while. I want to talk about what's next for Jay Opetaia because his little saga is very interesting to me, and I've covered it a little bit on this channel, and I've talked about the main point that I'm going to get into now specifically is this signing with Zuffa boxing more of a roadblock than it is to his benefit in his goal of becoming undisputed? And now I can say the answer to that is absolutely yes. His goal is to become undisputed in the traditional sense, unify the four titles, WBO, WBA, WBC and IBF world titles, unify them and become the undisputed champion of the world. Now, he's joined Zuffa Boxing, and they're trying to peddle the Zuffa Boxing world title as the number one world title. That's the narrative they want to push, is they want that to be the world title, the main one that everyone looks at. Now, will it be that? In time, it might be. I can't predict the future. If I had to take a guess, I'd say no. But, never say never. That's the narrative they want to push. He's got that belt at the minute. And he has no other officially in my books. Jay Opetaia is currently not a world champion. As you know, he has been officially stripped of the IBF world title. That's official today. We knew it wasn't going to be on the line in the Brandon Glanton fight. It's official that he's been stripped of his IBF title. That's straight from Jay Opetaia's mouth himself. And he says he's still got the goal of going for undisputed. Of course, the IBF, I would assume, had grievances with sanctioning the world title in a Zuffa boxing fight. I assume they didn't want to do that because Zuffa's a competitor that want them out of the game. They didn't want to sanction it. It is what it is. He's still got the Ring Magazine belt, which does mean something, which is good. But in terms of the dream of becoming undisputed, that seems to be gone. Right? There's two other champions in the division. There is Zurdo Ramirez, who I believe holds the WBA and WBO world title, and there is Noel Michaelian, who holds the WBC title, coming off winning against Badu Jack. Now, we don't know what's going on with Michaelian. We thought this fight against Brandon Glanton a few months back might have been the Noel Michaelian fight, because they did a kind of face-off at the first Zuffa boxing event. But of course, that's not the case. That fight could still come next. I'd be down to see it. But of course, that's not unification for Jai because he doesn't have his IBF world title. It's his second time being stripped of it. The first time was unfair. This time, it's good business from the IBF to strip him. Let's be honest, they don't want to associate with the people who are trying to run them out of business. So, yeah, he could do that fight, but he's still a ways away from the undisputed goal. And then Zurdo Ramirez has, of course, got his fight coming up against David Benavidez. David Benavidez, of course, coming up from light heavyweight, the current WBC light heavyweight champion of the world. That's a great fight. I think Benavidez would fight Jay Opetaia. Zurdo Ramirez, I think, however, wants no part of Jay Opetaia. It's funny because in the past he's not wanted that fight due to injury, and there's another situation where he hasn't wanted the fight because he's got a mandatory that he needs to get out of the way. There's a problem in that because unifications take precedent over mandatory, so he was just completely fine to unify and would have been chilling. So yeah, the goal for Jay Opetaia not being a world champion of any of the main alphabet bodies, and non-Michaelian, we don't know what's going on with him. Zurdo Ramirez doesn't want the fight, and he could very possibly beat David Benavidez. My pick is with Benavidez, but even if Benavidez wins, there's a possibility he goes down to light heavyweight and fights the winner in a trilogy of Batabayev and Bivol. Best case scenario for Jay Opetaia is he maybe gets one more fight in, maybe against Noel Michaelian. Maybe that's the fight he does. Has that fight in a few months, beats him, I think he would, whatever. He has that fight while he waits for the kind of, the winner of Zurdo Ramirez and Benavidez to recover. I think it'll be David Benavidez. He's a very active fighter, Jay Opetaia, so this isn't out of the realm of possibility. He has 3 fights this year at World Championship level. He fights Noel Michaelian, waits for the winner of Zurdo Ramirez and Benavidez to, be ready. I think it'll be David Benavidez. David Benavidez says, okay, I'm not going to go back down to light heavyweight because Bivol and Batabayev, I believe, are both fighting in May and will meet later this year. So David Benavidez probably going to have 2 fights this year. We'll probably see that and think, well, there's no real point in going down, is there? So I'm going to stay up at light heavyweight, and then Jay Opetaia and David Benavidez meet later in the year, which would be fantastic. And that would be enough, right? I don't know how that would work, because I don't know if that would be on a Zuffa boxing show. I know he's actually technically on a co-promotional deal with Zuffa. I don't know if he can fight off Zuffa shows, though. So I don't know what the deal was there. That would be absolute best case scenario. Listen, he wouldn't have undisputed, but like, that's all you have to do. Maybe just fight the winner of Benavidez and Zerdo, then move up to heavyweight. Heavyweight division, you've really got your pick of it there. I think he could do well at heavyweight. I think there's fighters who would fight him. You know what I mean? I think, Lawrence Okoli. No, I mean, that's a former cruiserweight champion. That could be his first fight heavyweight. Goes on and fights Lawrence Okoli. Sounds good to me. Like that would be a decent fight. Yeah, I think heavyweight. I think you've got time to really cement your legacy, and I think at cruiserweight, you've won a world title. You'll be always known as a cruiserweight world champion. Go up to heavyweight and see what you can do there. You need a kind of the way I see it is he's kind of at a reset already, right? Being stripped of his world title, he's kind of at the ground floor again. If you're at the ground floor again at cruiserweight, why not just go up to heavyweight and have a real fresh beginning? Because even though you could kind of build yourself back up to where you were at cruiserweight, winning the IBF back, for example, you're still just as far away as you were. If that makes sense? There's no guarantee you get those fights. So you just go up to heavyweight, and you have because there's no guarantee you might not get the fights heavyweight. At cruiserweight, it's pretty certain you're probably not going to get the fights you need. At heavyweight, it's completely fresh. That's what I think he should do. But yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye. That's my thoughts on that. I really hope he can get get his career really going and really in the swing of it, because Jay Opetaia is a phenomenal talent in my opinion, and it's disappointing to see. So yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.